Outlaw motorcycle clubs are said to be dominant players in this country's amphetamine and marijuana black markets. Because of a police crackdown, it's hard to get inside the contemporary bikie subculture. But a book, The Prez, published this week, gives a fictionalised, chilling insight based on real events. The author, David Spiteri, who has a criminal record for cultivating some marijuana, was once president of a bikie club. We took him to a pub for a download. David Spiteri, 63, wrote The Prez by longhand in a stack of notebooks. Recovering from an accident in hospital, he'd read many bikie books. All were sensationalised and exploitative and lacked soul, he says. As a teenager, David Spiteri formed the Bankstown Vampires with his mates. He lost his licence after heavy targeting by police and joined the Australian Navy, rising to the rank of Chief Petty Officer as a cook. He served for a time in South Vietnam. Like many Vietnam vets, he suffered alienation on his return to civilian life and joined an outlaw motorcycle club for the bikes and the mateship, acquiring his first Harley Davidson in the early 1970s. David Spiteri has been living in northern New South Wales for the last 20 years and says his book, although fictionalised to avoid reprisals, is based on a true representation of events he knows about.
According to eyewitnesses, there were no arguments, no fights, just a sudden blast of gunfire in the hotel car park.
Rather than being a deterrent, David Spiteri says the infamous 1984 Milperra massacre actually stimulated outlaw club membership.
And I can tell you one thing, Quentin, when the Milperra massacre did happen, ongoing from that, the fallout was recruitment in the motorcycle clubs skyrocketed.
While originally an Anglo-Irish membership, immigration has rapidly expanded the ethnic diversity within the clubs. But you weren't racist in the sense others could come in,
Anybody can join a motorcycle club as long as they've got a motorcycle and they're a good bloke, you know, and they want to abide by what rules we have. You know, there's not many rules.
The rules are?
You don't talk.
You don't
break the code. You don't talk about your club.
And what about the rivalries? Because it's bloody lethal. You guys kill each other.
Well, maybe so, but people get killed all the time. You know, like people get killed in domestic homicides all the time.
David Spiteri denies that bikie clubs structurally have evolved into a front for organised crime based on the amphetamine and marijuana black market in Australia. But from his book, it seems they do protect the criminal activities of their members through a sometimes brutally enforced code of silence.
But in my whole time, I've not known of one club that does the deed. Maybe members of clubs do the deeds, and the clubs never profit from it. It's individual members that profit, you know.
But aren't some of the clubs quite wealthy? You got some of the clubs own brothels, they own other property. I
think that's wrong.
Members own pubs.
Members would do that.
Members, not clubs.
Yeah, it's all members that do it. It's not in a club's name. It wouldn't be in a club name.
So if it was organised crime, it's not like the mafia, which has sort of got a consigliere at the top and all the way down.
It's all freelance.
Yeah.
Everybody freelances, you know. If anybody's going to do business now, and even so, now with people, other parts of society have seen, oh, look at all this money the bikies are making, so they'll do it. Now you've got Chinese doing it, Korean doing it, you know, Aussies doing it. Everybody's doing it in one way or another. It's not hard to do drugs, make them.
The marijuana's gone to other drugs. It's gone into amphetamines through the cook-ups, with the precursor drugs. It's gone into cocaine, hasn't it? It's gone everywhere. The market is now substantial.
Yeah, but the whole of society is using it. That's why, if there was no demand, nobody would be doing it. It's everywhere.
I suppose the difficulty for us now to come to terms with is all these drive-by shootings which have been going on right for the last 10 years or so. There's been a ramp-up of drive-by shootings. The police think they get it under control and then there's a spike. And the southwest Sydney and Western Sydney are terrified of these drive-by shootings. What's your explanation to them?
Well, in our day, we never ever went and shot up people's homes. But to say that, I live in the country, so I really do not know who is doing what.
I'm sure you don't, but what
No.
I'm trying to ask you to explain why this phenomenon over the last 10 years or so, and it's all around Australia, it's just not New South Wales, of people going and shooting somebody's house up.
Yeah, I think maybe it's an immigration thing, you know, like ever since Australia was a colony, we had new immigrants. We had the Irish, and we had the Chinese, and then the Italians, the Greeks. They all had trouble when they came here. Vietnamese, when they were at Cabramatta, look how bad that was there. And I think these new people from the Middle East, once they get assimilated into Australia and become multicultural, they will realise, hey, this is a good, safe country. We've got to change our ways. But on saying that, people keep saying it's bikies, but every suburb in Sydney has a street gang.
The other thing that we've witnessed in New South Wales was the bludgeoning murder of the bikie at Sydney Airport in front of kids who are traumatised watching it. So, you know, the bikies aren't containing their violence inside the culture of the club, it's out in the public.
Yeah, well, I believe that two guys that were involved in that rolled over and put all their mates in. That would never have happened in my day. You know, that's unbelievable, how they became Crown witnesses. And
Well,
I'm not sticking up for that.
They cracked the code.
They cracked the code. And I'm not saying that was good. I was as abhorrent about it as anybody else. You know, that was just crazy.
In your book, you go into the code. It's quite vivid description of somebody's you think are going to rat you out and say, no, it'll cause too much trouble with the commandos if anything happens here. We'll pick him up, tell him we want him to meet someone and take him for a ride in the club truck. We won't kill him, just put him in a hospital for a bit and let him think it over while he's recovering.
Yeah, well, that guy was causing a lot of trouble. He tried to cause trouble in the book, between his club and the commandos, who are another club in the book. And so once we found that out, he had to be dealt with. But it was dealt with out of the way. It wasn't done in front of everybody else. He was taken away and looked after.
And didn't squeal
No.
As a result of the beating he got.
That's right.
But the code is crackable by the sound of it.
Yeah, obviously. Now.
What is it that you want to say out of this book?
Well, this is a social history, and maybe we're a bit tough and hard on people, but we're not real bad people.
You really think people have believed that because you've got vivid descriptions of extreme violence in this book, which I think everybody understands as part of the culture.
It's only bikie on bikie, it's not against anybody else, and if you go into a motorcycle club, you understand. You know, if you do something wrong, out you go, and out goes your bike with you.
Okay, good luck with the book, David. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Quentin.